And good morning, everybody. My name is David Lynch. I'm the city manager for the city of Newton Falls, Ohio, and this is our coronavirus morning briefing for the city of Newton Falls, April 14th, 2020. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This broadcast is always an attempt to give you additional information regarding what's happening in the state of Ohio, state of Ohio's favorite city, that is Newton Falls, Ohio. And as I say in every broadcast, let's make sure that for health department information that you rely on the information coming from Amy Acton, who is the Director of Public Health for the state of Ohio. And you can see her every afternoon around 2 o'clock in the afternoon with the governor's press conference. So pay attention to that so that if you hear any conflicting information, rely on what Dr. Acton has to say. And speaking of Dr. Acton, what I want to talk about this morning was the fact that there is a new regimen coming out of Columbus, and they are now saying we should wear masks when we go out in order to protect others. They don't necessarily have to be N95s. They can be cloth masks or some kind of covering. And Dr. Acton, yesterday in her press conference, was very specific.
To normalcy. So I want to say one more thing. These masks that we are wearing, and I saw them everywhere this weekend, everywhere I went, Ohio, don the mask, don your cape. These masks are actually now being viewed in the studies that are being done as yet another weapon to get back to normalcy. This is a culture change for us to do this, but it's actually acting very much like the other social distancing actions we took. This is like another layer, for those of you who've been following all along, another layer of Swiss cheese, not doing mass gatherings so we don't spread the disease, or closing of schools, a very, very hard policy decision. We are going to be looking at a year of using these in new ways. So keep making them. Go on our website to learn how to do them safely and wear them safely. This is something we are all going to get used to, but I know even our businesses, our top businesses around Ohio, know that making workplace the safe place will be different. It will be taking into account all these things we do. And these masks in every Ohioan, no matter who they are, having access to them is going to be important. Similarly, in the week to come, we're going to talk a lot more about our work on vulnerable populations. It's essential that we make sure that everyone is a part of it.
So as Dr. Acton said, yes, this is a culture change for many of us, but make sure you wear those masks when you go out. So citizens of Newton Falls, if I'm at the IGA, or I'm at the Shop and Save, or I'm at the Dollar General store, or various other locations around Newton Falls, I expect you to wear those masks. Show that you are concerned for others. And if you have a hard time finding some kind of covering, contact my office of the city manager at 330-872-0806. And we will do whatever we need to do to make sure you've got some kind of covering. Let's protect those around us. And speaking of those that protect, we have on the line right now someone who's helping us with the mental side of the strife we're going through right now, and that is a representative from the Trumbull County Mental Health and Recovery Board, and that is Alana Roth-Kahn. Good morning, Alana. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
Great. Thanks for being on the program this morning. You know, the police chief has talked to me quite a bit about the mental strife that's going on right now. Can you talk a little bit about how your agency is dealing with this?
Sure. As the Mental Health and Recovery Board, we do the funding and oversight for all of our mental health and drug and alcohol agencies. So we've been supporting them with additional funding. They're doing telehealth. We have specific lines set up for our first responders in the community, and also for people in general to call in, whether it's to 211 or to our Coleman Access Center if they're needing some additional supports regarding depression or anxiety, and they want to get involved in counseling.
Yeah, we have those numbers available for our viewers right now.
Okay, good. We're seeing a lot of distress and anxiety because of the unknown, and when you don't know what's coming up and what's going to be occurring, oftentimes that causes undue anxiety and stress for people.
Sure. When you say stress for people, the ways they manifest themselves, I imagine, are in areas such as increased tendencies towards suicide and domestic violence, that sort of thing?
Yes, and not necessarily actively suicidal, but thoughts of depression, of not wanting to be around. Although we have seen an increase in suicidal ideation, thoughts of wanting to die. There's feelings of hopelessness, lack of energy, low activity levels, which also occurs because of the isolation that people are now having to do to keep all of us safe. Difficulty concentrating, sleeping difficulties, these are all manifestations of types of stress, anxiety, depression.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose there's nothing like the combination of loneliness and fear to hype up someone who's already in a depressed state. What are the folks in your agency doing to help combat this right now?
Well, we do have all of the counselors at the various agencies. They are doing telehealth. So if people need to talk to somebody, they can call in, schedule appointments. Depending upon what the issues are and what's going on, then various ideas of how to combat the anxiety and depression are suggested by the therapist. We're also, in general, suggesting that people decrease their media watching, because that will heighten that anxiety and depression. To also get the correct information by listening to the governor's press conference and utilizing sources that are reliable. Also to have schedule a routine and keep to that. That's often helpful. And then also, even though we're isolated, not being able to see or talk to people face to face, social media is a great platform. So calling people, FaceTime, Skype, anything that you can do with family and
Sure.
friends to help
Sure.
decrease those feelings.
Alana, talk to me about abuse of alcohol and drugs. Does this enter into a deadly combination for these times?
You know, we're not sure. We're very concerned about that. We're not seeing that as of yet, but we are hearing that there has been an increase, of course, in alcohol purchases. But as of yet, we've not received any information as to an increase of deaths due to that.
Yeah. Alana, what kinds of things are your counselors saying to give people a sense of hope? Because, throughout this entire thing, many of our leadership in elected office, appointed office, and medical responsibility have been sprinkling their remarks with remarks of hope. Is this an important factor?
Absolutely. Because you want to have goals. You want to see that there is that light at the end of the tunnel, and so those feelings of hope and setting goals and having something to look forward to is extremely important. Otherwise, people feel helpless and hopeless, and that can then continue a downhill spiral.
Sure. Alana, one of the numbers you gave us was this 211 number. What's that number all about, and when should people want to access 211?
Correct. 211 is Help Network, and they're an agency that does a variety of different things. It's an information referral line, so people can call if they're looking for specific types of counseling. Various agencies, whether it's in Trumbull County, Mahoning County, they can get that information. In addition, they have a crisis hotline or a suicide hotline. So if people are feeling suicidal, they can call 211 and they'll get connected immediately to a crisis worker so that they can speak to somebody.
Well, Alana, it's outstanding what you and your agency are doing. We think about our first responders being right out there on the front lines and saving lives, but when it comes to our psychological development, people do become desperate and people sink so low that sometimes the person saving the life is the counselor on the other end of the line. And on behalf of all our citizens in Trumbull County, thank you for what you do. You're one of the unsung heroes.
Thank you for having me on your show.
That's great. Thank you. That was Alana Rothkahn from the Trumbull County Mental Health Board and Recovery Department. And right now we're going to change gears a little bit and go to a gentleman who's been through quite a bit in terms of what's been going on in our community, been involved in for many years, and that is the Ward 3 councilman for the city of Newton Falls. We're going to talk to all our councilmen. Yeah, Councilman Lyle Waddell from Ward 3. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. Thanks for coming on the program today. Well, we're going to be talking to all the members of City Council because you are burdened with the legislative responsibility of guiding our community through a very difficult time. And I imagine that very few people can relate to the responsibility that you have. I also imagine that in all the time serving in public office, as you have over the years, you've probably never encountered anything like this. What's it like to be wearing that jacket of responsibility in these hard times?
Well, first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity this week. I think it is a little bit different. You don't face these kind of issues, maybe never in your lifetime. But I think that's important that we continue to move forward with the community. We still have to continue to try to bring jobs and businesses here, but we also have to be responsible. And we have to look at the budgets. We have to look at the way we spend money. We have to make very good decisions. You can't stop making decisions, but you have to make good decisions. I think you also have to look at some of the projects that we have that are in place. And, we have 3 good projects going this year. And we don't know for sure if the governor is going to continue to fund those. There's some discussion about taking some of the money out of the grant program. So, we need to watch and see how this is going to happen because those are important projects for some of our residents. But this is a little bit of a trying time. But like I said, we have to make some good decisions and watch the tax dollars and spend them the best way we can.
Lyle, Councilman Waddell, you've been involved in Newton Falls politics for a fairly extensive period of time now. And one of the things that makes our community unique is the fact that we're not just a municipal government, but we are providing some of the essences of life, that is water, sewer, and electricity. And can you talk a little bit about how that puts us in a rather unique position as relates to the survival of our citizens?
Well, we have the opportunity, as you know, to set our own rates and what we do, and we've used our utilities as a magnet for trying to attract business, but we can also use our utilities to help our owed customers. We actually, I think we were one of the first in the state to come up with the discount for our citizens. I continue to be on conference calls with AMP Ohio and with the Ohio Municipal League as we talk around the state with other mayors, elected officials, other community leaders, and what they're doing in other communities. And we have the ability to utilize our all of our utilities in ways that other communities can't do that. By being a member of AMP, that gives us a little flexibility. And I think it's important that we look at how we do this and how we take care of our residents. We're going to have a lot of residents that are going to struggle with paying their bills and keeping their house warm and keeping the water on. And we have to be right there to help with that.
Mayor, Councilman Waddell, let's get to the personal level on this thing. How has this affected you and your family?
Well, the UPS, FedEx, and Prime drivers know where I live. I've taken the task of redoing my workshop, and so instead of going out to get things and supplies and that, I order things offline. But I think the most important thing is the social distancing. Um, Luckily, because of my workshop, I keep a good supply of masks and gloves here to do staining and dust, prevention in the workshop. But those things are hard to find, and I don't have a great supply of them, but I wear those when I go out, which isn't very often anymore. And we spend a lot of time, working around the yard and working in the house. We've practiced social distancing. We wear a PPE, and it's a lot of people aren't doing that, and I think that's one of the things that has kept the numbers down in the state of Ohio is the leadership of our governor and of other leaders, even in our community, of emphasizing the fact that we need to practice, social distancing and wear your PPE. It's kept our numbers down. So I think that's what we're doing. We call our relatives, and instead of going to see them, you call and talk to them. But I call the neighbors, and we have some elderly people that I know, and I check in with them periodically to make sure that they're doing okay. But it's changed things, not a lot, but it certainly makes you think when you're going to do things.
Yeah, Councilman, we're going to bring this conversation to a close, but I do want to pause for a moment and ask you to convey to our citizens what message you would like them to hear from you as the Ward 3 councilman.
Well, I think what I want to do is thank the staff, thank the supervisors in this community for the plans that they've put in place to keep the city working, keep their employees safe, and being able to provide services to our community and to our residents. They've done a tremendous job with that. And in fact, in the conversations with the OML, I've talked about some of the things that we're doing, and they've actually, I think, implemented some of those in other areas because we exchange ideas. Yeah. But I think it's important that we do all that we can to, make sure that we take care of our residents. We need to be able to support our local businesses the best we can with takeouts, and when you can and how you can, volunteer your time or donate to some of the local charities that are, working to provide food and other things. But we need to make sure that our citizens are, taken care of and as best that we can, and look out for them and keep things moving forward.
Well, Councilman Lyle Waddell from Ward 3 in the city of Newton Falls, thanks for spending some time with us. Peace to your family and good health to you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was Lyle Waddell, the Ward 3 councilman for the city of Newton Falls, and we appreciate him taking a moment to make sure that we are in a position where we are being safe and where he is able to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on in terms of his own ward and all of us being safe here in the city of Newton Falls. Well, that brings to a conclusion the end of our broadcast. I do want to say thank you again to all of our first responders. As Amy Acton said as well toward the beginning of this broadcast, wear the masks when you go out. Dr. Acton said, wear the mask and the cape. Well, we're not going to require the cape, but please wear the mask when you go out. And as I mentioned before, these don't have to be N95s. These masks just need to be a covering over your mouth and your nose so that you are not projecting these molecules of the coronavirus that you might have within your body right now, because people carry the virus and oftentimes do not show symptoms. So cover your face in order to protect others. And if for some reason you can't come up with a covering, you contact the city manager's office. We'll make sure you get one. The number is 330-872-0806 for the city managers. Well, this is Dave Lynch bringing to close again another one of our broadcasts. Thanks to all of our guests. Wear those masks and keep in prayer, as we've said on a regular basis. The good Lord will shield us if we rely on His providence. And as I close every single one of these broadcasts, God bless America, and God bless the city of Newton Falls.